I'll say this: college prep and career readiness is a Ponzi scheme.
Well, I had to work too much. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're a dropout.
Wait.
Zuckerberg. Well, come on.
Not everybody can do what I do, though. I got
no, but Zuckerberg's a dropout. Gates is a dropout.
Hold on. No. Hold on.
They dropped out of Harvard.
People like Bill Gates and Zuckerberg quit school because they were too busy working on projects.
Correct.
If you're a guy that's failing like remedial algebra and you quit school, you're not going to become the next Gates or Zuckerberg.
But bear with.
Patrick Bet David brought on this woke idiot Destiny onto his show, the PBD Podcast, here live on the Valuetainment YouTube channel. And Destiny and Patrick Bet David got into a very heated argument here about certain topics when it comes to the political landscape of the United States. And in my opinion, Patrick Bet David absolutely wiped the floor with this woke idiot Destiny here. Let's get into this clip from the PBD Podcast and the Valuetainment YouTube channel where Patrick Bet David absolutely annihilated this woke idiot Destiny for his ridiculously insane takes here.
Current education system. What do you think about the current education system that we have?
That's a really broad question.
Well, you said you like opinions, so go for it. Give us.
Okay, I have a strong opinion on things I don't know anything about. Do you want to talk about like colleges? You want to talk about like K through 12?
You think go through both. You know, yesterday Kyle had a lot of strong opinions on, we should forgive all the college debt, all that stuff. But I'm talking more the format, like our educational system, K through 12, and you can go into college as well.
I read a quote a long time ago. I don't remember who it was from, but the quote that I read was that if you were to pull somebody out of the 18th century and you were to transport them into today, the only thing they would recognize would be the schools. That like we have a way of educating people, and we've done it for like hundreds of years. And
that quote's completely false.
Okay, well,
we didn't have schools in the 1700s.
Nobody got educated anywhere in the.
We didn't have schools in the 1700s. We didn't have schools. You're like saying that they would recognize the schools.
There were no schools in England or whatever. People weren't like getting.
There must have been some sort of
colleges,
schools.
but not schools.
Okay, colleges. Sorry,
but not schools. So they wouldn't recognize the school system.
Okay, what is our terms? Does college not count as school or?
Mm-mm.
Okay.
When you say schools, you mean K through 12. We call college colleges.
Okay, well, I don't mean that, but maybe for the purpose of this conversation, then we can mean that. Okay, college is a separate thing from school. I feel like there are a couple of, if we're talking about like classes, I feel like there are a few basic classes that like every student should be required to take that we don't. So things like a basic home ec class, I think a basic psych and a basic philosophy course, I think would be really important. Like just a couple of the things that help us like exist in the world and like file our taxes and be like a little bit critical of like the things we watch. And then I know that largely speaking, I know that we've got troubles in schools that throwing more money, at least in some places.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie to y'all. And let me know in the comments how much you agree or disagree with this. I use basically nothing that I learned in school in modern day. Like, I don't work a normal job, so I'm like I'm an entrepreneur or whatever. So I guess use a lot of like the English stuff that I learned in maybe first or second grade. Past that, I don't use anything that I learned in English. I'm not ever writing papers in MLA format or anything like that. Like that never happens. As far as math, I use the calculator on my phone for literally everything. Like I don't use anything that I learned in school ever. So I don't know about y'all. Maybe it's different for people who work like normal jobs. Let me know in the comments. But I'm pretty sure nobody that I know is grateful that they spent 12 years of their life at least in the school system until you go to college, and then you start to, even like a couple of years into college, when you start to get specialized knowledge, it's a huge waste of time. Like I still don't know how to do my taxes. I have other people do taxes for me. I wish I would have learned that in school. That would have been actually helpful. I actually agree with Destiny here that having some kind of basic philosophy class too would be nice. Teaching people how to think, come to logical conclusions. That would have been nice too. Maybe even like a debate class, teaching people how to actually critically think rather than read stories and have to answer questions about these boring ass stories that they're telling you to read. The school system is actually really bad. I don't use anything at all other than reading and writing, which I learned in kindergarten. I don't use anything at all.
This doesn't seem to help, but I think schools are hard because sometimes that's like the last stop of like a whole bunch of problems prior to that, right? If you've got a kid coming from like a single parent family who's not getting much sleep, whose household is in like a really, fucked up area, at that point, how much can a particular like K through 12 school actually do for the child? I'm not entirely sure. Past that, if we're talking about colleges, I think colleges are pretty okay in the United States. We have our really good schools that people all around the world come to get educated in. I think that people opt too much for out-of-state schools. You've got people talking about, I've got, $200,000 in debt. And it's like, oh, okay, cool. Are you a doctor? And they're like, no, I'm like a mechanical engineer, but I did like 7 years of like out-of-state, plus tuition and board and everything. And it's like, why the fuck did you do that? But yeah, I think largely speaking, I think that like the college stuff is okay. I'm not a big fan of student loan forgiveness.
Why not?
Coming from like a working poor background before I got into streaming, I feel like the middle class asks for a lot of tax breaks sometimes. And when I look at like really
if you enjoy content like this, then make sure you leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It really does help me out a ton. Let's get back to the video.
Working poor people, I'm like, damn, these people are fucked. Okay, and you want to have your student loan debt forgiven when you're going to go on to become some of the like the top tier earners in all of society. I think if you look at I know that
very interesting.
Yeah, the cost of education has grown, but the average amount of time to pay back a degree based on getting a degree, I think is about the same as it always has been.
20 years. To pay back your debt. That's the average.
I think I thought it was 15, but it might be 20. I guess 21.
Maybe for,
yeah, but like
go-getters like you can do it in 15. But on average, I think it's 19, 20 years.
Maybe, yeah. But the people that earn college degrees go on to become the highest earners in society. So if we're going to target stimulus towards any part of like the economy, I'd rather go towards people that are like working poor and not towards people that are like engineers that just want to get rid of like a $500, $600 a month like student loan debt payment.
You're saying targeting stimulus?
Or like anything.
Like,
when we talk about
rather than spend the money to pay off people's debt that they chose to incur themselves in order to get ahead in this life,
that they're going to be rewarded for.
Well, there are limits to it. And by the way, the whole Biden $10,000 student loan, it didn't pass, correct? This was something.
Well,
it didn't happen. It got struck down.
I
think it's in the.
It stalled in the Supreme Court. I want to say.
I think it's in the new.
Point is, nobody got the $10,000 or $20,000.
I know that
erased,
the site was open, and I know people were putting in applications. I don't know if anybody's gotten it yet.
Don't get me started on these sites. They're crashing
on the websites.
But there were limitations. I think if you made over $150,000 a year, you did not qualify.
Yeah, and then people with Pell Grants were qualified for up to $20,000. If you were going to do it, I think it was probably the best way to do it, and it's maybe a good way to get young people to vote, even though they don't otherwise.
You even point this out. Like, I'll say this: college prep and career readiness is a Ponzi scheme. They got your kid for 12 years. They've already convinced you, and they've got 12 years to convince the kid you need to go to college, because if you don't go to college, you're screwed. And so you got to go to college. And what is that? That's just, you got to pay a lot of money to a school somewhere so that you have a college degree. And nowhere in school do they say why you have to go to college. It's just so that you can earn the money. But it's not like, let's make a plan for you. If you go to this school, it will cost you $80,000 total over 4 years, and then you have this potential of this earning. No, you can go for basket weaving and get $200,000 in debt or whatever, and you completely unemployable. And so my point,
it's 100% facts what she's saying here. What I've learned, and I don't mean to turn this into like a business talk or anything like that. I'll be super quick. What I've learned from being in business, being in sales, everything like that, when someone buys from you once, it could be $1, it could be $10,000. When they buy from you once, they are infinitely more likely to buy from you again, especially if you provide them some sort of, really good service. But even if you don't provide them a great service, they're infinitely more likely to buy from you again. So we are forced basically by law, unless you homeschool the kid, to send your kid off to school. And whenever you send your kid off to school and you pay money, or you send them to public school, whatever, you're infinitely more likely to continue to send them to school without really thinking twice about it. So the natural progression is you send your child off to college. And what Sam Sorbo is saying here is completely correct in the fact that college, if you ask most successful people, even if you ask people like Patrick Bet David, I think Destiny actually supports college, but most successful people, ultra successful people, money-wise, will always tell you college is a waste of time. And the reason for that is exactly what she's saying, because you send kids off to college and there is no set plan. There is no set ROI that you get from going there, which is really, really stupid, because you send them off to college, and people like Destiny will continue to tell people, and he's going to go off on a rant here in a second about it, to send people off to college, but there's no guaranteed return. There's no even performance-based guarantee that even if they do X, Y, and Z, pass X, Y, and Z class, that you're going to make this much money. There's no guarantee of that. There's no even set plan of that. they could go for basket weaving and never make a dime and just be stuck in student loan debt forever. Even the people who come out doctors are broke for like the next 10, 20 years because they have to pay back all these student loans. Like with my coaching program, my main business, I have like a guarantee. I'll lay out literally how much you're going to make in the first 30 days, 60 days, 90 days. And if they don't make that much money and they completed X, Y, and Z tasks that I set for them up front, they get a full refund. So it's way cheaper to go and learn from somebody like that, go learn from some online coaching program or community or something like that, than pay tens of thousands, possibly even hundreds of thousands of dollars to go to college for a nonsensical degree and not even have a guarantee of return. Even if you do everything right, you can still be absolutely broke when you leave because it's a flawed system. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know why anyone would put their kid through college nowadays. It doesn't make any sense to me.
The whole thing is, at this point, it's just a Ponzi scheme. It might be based on data that came from 50 years ago, but at this point, we got to wake up and smell the coffee. Kids don't necessarily have to go to college. And you went to school, you graduated.
No, I failed.
Okay.
Well, I had to work too much. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So you're a dropout.
Wait,
Zuckerberg. Well,
not everybody can do what I do though. I got
but Zuckerberg's a dropout. Gates is a dropout.
Hold on. No. Hold on.
Dropped out of Harvard.
People like Bill Gates and Zuckerberg quit school because they were too busy working on projects.
Correct.
If you're a guy that's failing like remedial algebra and you quit school, you're not going to become the next Gates or Zuckerberg.
But bear with me. What I'm saying is you do not have to have a college degree to succeed in life. And so setting up a child and saying you have to have a college degree in order to succeed is a false paradigm. It's just false. There are a lot of people who succeed. In fact, most of my friends, I don't know, did you graduate? Okay. Most of my friends who are entrepreneurs, who are self-starters, who are successful in life did not go to college and did not graduate, or did go to college for a short term and figured it out and didn't graduate. And so my point is, it's a Ponzi scheme. Now they're all in debt, and now they're all saying, hey, government, bail me out.
I 100% agree. I am one of those people. I'm not super successful or anything like that, but I make pretty good money. I make much more money than the average person does who graduates college. And I'm very grateful for that. Very blessed. I don't think I'm better than anyone else. I'm very super grateful for it. But just to further prove the point, not only is it people like Bill Gates and like the ultra successful billionaires, but it's also people like me who make really good money, much more than the average person does every single month. I went to college and I failed out twice, actually. I failed out of college 2 different times. I failed out once, said I'm not going back. Then I ended up going back and failed out again. And now, and I was also the kid who all throughout high school and middle school, I was cheating on everything. I was copying homework. I was cheating on tests. And those normally end up being the people who are ultra successful, not the people who are making straight A's, not the valedictorians. They're normally the doctors and lawyers and stuff like that. But the entrepreneurs, the self-starters, like they're saying here with Patrick Bet-David and all these people, Destiny, even though he, contradicts himself and the fact that he failed out of college and he's ultra successful, people like Destiny, people like Patrick Bet-David, people like Adam here. I think Adam might have actually graduated college, but all these people, they didn't graduate college. They cheated on tests growing up. Like that is a flawed system. It shouldn't be like that. Like it shouldn't be like, it is funny, but at the same time, it's like key indicator of a flawed system. If the people who are the most successful in life are the people who go through the school system and cheat on tests and copy homework and fail out of college, the system is flawed. Like it's funny to talk about and everything, but it needs to change. It's never going to, but all you can do is understand the rules of the game and start playing accordingly. Stop sending your kids off to college. Homeschool them. Just stop doing it.
I think you're doing a disservice to college. Hear me out.
Okay, I actually don't care what Adam has to say. Let me know in the comments what you think about what Destiny and Sam Sorbo and Patrick Bet-David had to argue about there. Let me know in the comments what you think about this whole Destiny going on, the PBD podcast situation.